Okay, I hope you guys are having a good day. I want to talk about another topic that I fully believe is like a philosophical discussion on getting rich because I think that this goes hand in hand with getting rich. And that is to learn to be a natural leader. So what I mean by that is taking action, which I want to run another video, the combination of no hesitation, with a combination of confidence, with a combination of clear set direction, with a combination of a plan, cunning, sharp, sometimes manipulative. There are a lot of toxic traits that go into being a leader, and if you have those society considers them toxic traits, you have those traits, you are going to be probably a very good leader and a natural leader at that. And but this video is going to be directed at people who are not natural leaders and why they need to learn how to be a natural leader, how to become a natural leader, and just overall the benefits of it. Okay. If you're not a natural leader, chances are you're somebody who is either a background character, like you blend in, you don't really make a fuss, you're just kind of neutral to everything. And that may seem like a good way of life to you. It may seem like that's an okay way to live, and it's like not a dangerous way to live. But as someone who, I don't know, I feel like background characters, people who are smart enough not to make a fuss, are also people who are smart enough to be aware enough to where they know they want a better life than the one they have at the moment. You know? And if you want that better life for yourself, the only way to do that is to be a natural leader. You have to learn how to be that leader, that person to take charge. And that's because of the fact that you need to be able to steer things in certain directions. And I know you can say that you can steer things in certain directions from the shadows and be that kind of puppeteer that no one really notices, but there are times where you have to step in and take that lead role. Like there are situations where you can't steer from the shadows. You have to kind of be open with the group or open with whoever to kind of get the situation to steer in that direction. And so at the same time, it just gives you a little bit of an edge. But the first step I have to, I believe, being a natural leader is, I would say, overall, the key in being sure of yourself. Being sure as in you trust yourself. I bet many of you have been in situations where you've done something and you literally okay, so the difference between being sure of yourself and confident in yourself are completely different things. Like I was just saying a second ago before I cut myself off. I'm sure most of you are been in a situation where you've done something and you felt like you were doing the right, no, you knew you were doing the right thing. You were literally shown you were doing the right thing. And even though you knew you were doing the right thing, after doing it, you still had that voice in your head that was kind of I don't know, I'm not sure. Maybe, I could have done that differently, or I could have been better, or I could have done it like this, or maybe a person judged me. Even though you literally know you did the perfect, had the perfect outcome, you still second guess yourself. And that's a sign of just not being confident, no, being sure of yourself. And that needs to change. And the fastest way I'd say to change that, in my opinion, is fitness. Simply because of one reason. I'm not going to go on a full fitness spiel right now, but because it's only really a one answer question. There's one answer. And that answer is that when you're doing fitness and you show up on the days that you don't want to show up, that's a way of you reaffirming that you can take care of yourself because you did what had to be done on a day that you did not feel like doing what had to be done. And even though you did not feel like doing what had to be done, you still went ahead and did it anyway. That is the biggest decider in if a person is going to have if a person is going to be sure of themselves or not sure of themselves. And you'll start to realize that when you train, on the days that feel awful, the other days that feel good are going to feel even better. And I'll get into that in a future video, but that's a very big trait with why you should be training on days that are not ideal for you, because the days that are ideal are going to feel 10 times better when you know that you went on the days that weren't ideal either. And like I said, it'll make you sure of yourself. Now, being sure of yourself can help you in many ways when it comes to being a leader. It can allow you to make a decision without hesitation, like I spoke of earlier. So, for example, if there's door number 1 and door number 2, and you decide on door number 1, there's not going to be any sort of hesitation on maybe door number 2. No, you chose door number 1, so you stick with door number 1 because that's what you know and that's what you're sure of because you chose it. And it'll also give off this sense of direction for the other people around you. It'll show them that you're sure of yourself. And being sure of yourself, people may not know, but is very contagious. When you're sure of yourself, it makes other people sure of you. People can sense that pheromone off you. I know that sounds cliche, but to an extent, I feel like it's possible for a person to feel that, to be like, whoa, this person not only is making the decision to do this, they're actually doing it and not having any second guesses or having any second thoughts. I'm gonna explain something to you. When I go to my job, right? When I work, um I'm not a lead. I'm not a lead by any means, and I'm not saying this to brag or boast. But I've been in situations a lot of the time where I'm able to play that lead role even though I'm not a lead, just because of the fact that I feel like I know what I'm I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. And there have been people who start our job who are new to our job who don't know who to follow or don't know who the lead is because they weren't introduced to them yet, or just overall, whatever circumstance. And they'll start following me and they'll start doing what I'm doing. And I'm not gonna lie, there are often times at my job where I'm wrong about a lot of things. And that person will get mad at me for being wrong about the thing that they just followed me into. And so I'll always argue back with the whole, well, why'd you follow me into it then? If there was doubt, why follow me? And they'll look at me and go, because you were so sure of yourself that we just assumed that you knew what you were talking about. And while that may sound like not the best, I kind of get them into trouble, it just shows how being sure of yourself can literally make people blindly follow you, even if they aren't sure if you're right. They see that you are, and that's enough for most people. Most people are sheep. They're mindless drones that just kind of live on autopilot. And they're always looking for someone to follow. People are always looking for somebody to follow. And if you can be that person that they kind of see as that person to follow, they'll eat it up. They'll come after. They'll follow you until you mess up. But if you don't mess up, they'll just continue to follow you. And so you can kind of build an army like that if you're careful and meticulous about it. Now, another trait of being a natural leader is, I said no hesitation, but this one is going to be kind of similar, but it's different, and I'll explain why. Decisiveness. Someone who is just quick with an outcome, straight to the point, just overall deductive reasoning at an all-time high, and can just be quick with an answer, and that answer is also correct or ideal. In a lot of business and sales and stuff like that, people always tell you in your job, I'm sure you've heard the term, don't rush, take your time, do it right. I don't believe in that personally. I believe in supply and demand. I believe that if you complete your job, if you can complete your job well, that's great. But if there's someone who can do the job just as good as you and can do it faster, that person is better. Speed does matter. Do not let people say that speed does not matter when it comes to completing tasks or overall anything, because that is why the rich will pay more money to save their time. The rich understand that time is more valuable than money, and so therefore they'll spend more money to gain more time. And so that goes for everyone though. You don't just have to be rich to apply that mindset to your life. If you're somebody who employs another person, right? Let's say you're the boss of a company and you have somebody who always gives you good answers, but then you hire this new guy and he's giving you the same answers that the other dude is giving you that are also working, the same answer, but he's giving them to you 2 weeks faster than this other guy. He's now going to be your new golden boy. He's now going to be the new person that you turn to. And in a way, you're going to look at him wow, how did you come to that conclusion so fast? People who are to the point, people whose deductive reasoning is very impressive, but most of all are to the point quickly without sugarcoating or really kind of giving any sort of excuse. People who can just straight up say what needs to be said, you're going to be a leader. You're going to be someone who people follow because of the fact that everybody's so afraid to say and just offend, and so they'll pick and choose what they say very carefully and they'll make sure that they say it in a certain way. Everybody is so easily offended, emotional, weak, and just overall interprets things in such a weird way. It's everybody wants to be offended nowadays. So in a sense, if you're somebody who just doesn't care about that, or not doesn't care, but somebody who's just whatever, I'm gonna say what needs to be said because it needs to be done, because there's a task at hand that needs to get done, then you're gonna have no problem falling into that leader role. Because people who are blunt, people who are straight up non-sugarcoating, straight to the point people are in high demand right now, because it's a very rare commodity in this world, especially for people who are in their 20s. Another trait of being a natural leader, another trait of someone who is a natural leader is going to be somebody who is just hyper focused and driven. Somebody who is constantly motivated, somebody who's not only motivated for themselves, but like infectiously motivates those around them as well. Now, I talked about it before about how being like sure of yourself can like be infectious and contagious to those around you. Being motivated will be complete like it's astronomically more contagious than being like sure of yourself. Because when you're motivated and that motivation is so like so driven, you're so driven and motivated that it starts to affect those around you, then that is like the point where you pretty much have already achieved it. You know, you've done it. And I'll give you an example of this. I'm very motivated in fitness because I care about the way I look a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. I care about the way I look a lot. And that may deter people or make them think that I'm very into fitness, when in reality I'm not very into fitness. I'm very into looking good. So I'll do like what needs to be done with fitness, but I'll seem motivated in fitness when in reality I'll be like, you know, let's get it, let's go. When in reality I want to look better, so that's where the motivation comes from. But that doesn't matter because when people see me as motivated as I am in fitness, like it's caused other friends of mine to start going to the gym with me, start running with me, start just overall getting into exercise with me. Because they'll be like, you know what? We see you getting it all the time. We see you getting all motivated and pumped up and then going to the gym and feeling good after. And we want to feel that too. You know, we want to be that. And you kind of made us get up and be like, you know, like, okay, when you go into the adult world, like when you're done with college and you become an actual adult with a job, most people say, like, most of the people who say they're never going to become fat, most of the people who stay slim, they become fat. And people really don't understand why that. I mean, people understand why that is, but there's a reason that I feel like a lot of people overlook. If you went to college and you're in college right now, you need to understand you're surrounded, and you can go outside right now and look, and I'm correct. I know I am. You can go outside and prove it yourself if you want to, but you're surrounded by athletes, people running, people lifting outside. You know, people are like young and they have good bodies and they want to show it off. So you get to go outside right now on a college campus and you'll see a bunch of runners, you'll see a bunch of star athletes, you'll see a bunch of people working out outside on like a field. You're gonna see fitness everywhere you go. And in a weird way, that like guilt trips us. Like guilt trips us as people, even if we're not into being fit. Seeing so many fit people around us, it guilt trips us into wanting to stay fit to keep up with the trend. You know, it's like in high school, the trend maybe was designer shoes or something like that, and so you wanted them so bad. In college, the trend is being in shape, so everybody's kind of just like does it, even if they don't want to do it because everyone else around them is doing it. Once you get out of college and you start to see that everyone around you isn't really doing that, and you're, you know, sitting at a desk job behind a computer for 8 to 10 hours, and you know, just it slowly creeps up on you. That fat kind of slowly creeps up on you. Before you know it, you're a little bit chunky, you're a little bit heavy set, and you're like, what happened? Well, it's because you weren't being guilt tripped by the people around you who were making it happen for themselves to stay in that standard, stay in that good of shape. Now, it's the same way with the whole motivation aspect. Motivation is infectious in a sense that if someone around you is time and time again just getting after it, whether it be a mental stimulation, physical stimulation, like working out, like making money, it doesn't matter what it is. If someone around you is setting a standard and you're below that standard, it will guilt you into keeping up with that person. Like, if you're around someone who's just, if you're like, that's why they say people who are around other billionaires or hang out with other billionaires are going to become the next billionaire in their friend group. Because there's just something about, it's like the human condition. There's something about hanging out with people who have got something that you don't, that you see as a positive, that just, and you're surrounded by them and only those people that make you want to get it too. You know, you want to fit in. It's just like, that's why I always say use the tool of fitting in as a positive trait, not as a negative trait. And so, I feel like when it comes to being motivated, you need to find a way to motivate yourself so much that every day when you wake up, you're ready to just get after it. Because that's the only way that your level of motivation is going to become contagious enough to make other people catch that motivation that you have for yourself. And before you know it, you'll have an army behind you. And so, in my opinion, being a natural leader is something that takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of self-assurance and just overall practice, mentally and physically. But if you put yourself in a position where you start to become a mover and shaker in your life, I won't be surprised if you start to see many people who either weren't in your corner before switch up, or people who you don't even know that start to flock to you, who start following you, and you start being the one setting the trends. Because people want to be led. But so like, when they find that person who is willing to be that leader for them, they will more than happily, follow you to the ends of the earth. You just have to be careful with it. You got to make sure you're not messing a lot of stuff up, and you got to make sure you're on the right track. But if you have any of these qualities that I spoke about in this video, then congratulations, you're killing it. And if you don't, you need to listen to what I said step by step and associate these traits with your personality. If you're afraid of being judged, then you were never meant to be a leader in the first place, because a lot of the traits that I went over in this video are very toxic. You need to be okay with being toxic if you want to be a leader. That's just how it goes.